people will ask me like, oh, I have ADHD. Am I allowed to be a dom? And I'm like, you can do
Yes.
whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yes, you are a dom, but you're also a whole person. You are allowed to have conversations about what you're doing well, what your partner is liking. One of the most powerful tools for the neurodivergent dom is just...
It's the Kink Consultant Podcast, where we're turning up the heat on all things kink and dating, relationships, and pop culture. So close the door, plug in your headphones, and let's get down to it. Before we get started, have you been feeling disconnected from your partner or wanting to talk about introducing kink in your relationship? You just don't know how? Book a consultation. I'm a board-certified sexologist and Somatica-certified sex and relationship coach with experience helping individuals and couples reconnect after years of missed connection. So stop pressing the snooze button on the conversations you want to have. Head to amandadames.com to book a consult. Hey everyone, this week we're welcoming back Cate Osborn. She is more widely known as Catieosaurus on Instagram and TikTok, where she creates content about living with ADHD and being kinky. She is extremely popular. She has helped so many people I know, and we're excited to have her back now that her book is launched and she is on tour. Welcome back, Cate. How are you?
Hi, I'm so happy to be back. It's good to see you.
I'm excited to have you. I know my audience is excited that you're coming back on today, so great to see you too. Although I feel I don't go a day without seeing you on my Instagram reels. You are on tour. You are all over Instagram. You were recently at DomCon, where you won a bunch of awards. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was maybe a lot.
But how are you keeping your energy up? Let's start there, because that's insane to me.
Oh, I feel like I could give you a really trite influencer answer of I just but no, I'm exhausted. I'm tired all the time, but I love this work. And I think that's really what it comes down to is I'm exhausted. I did just have a really nice break where I went back to work at the Georgia Renaissance Festival. That was sort of my mental health reset for the year, I think. But yeah, I'm tired. I don't know. I do a lot. And I think some days I feel it more than others. I'm definitely feeling it today. I don't know how to answer that question. I just keep doing stuff.
Well, my favorite part of the answer was I took a break. I worked, just a different type of work. And that was
yeah.
Question for you, just because I used to travel a lot for work, nothing compared to what you're doing. But how do you stay feeling grounded, switching hotels and being out of any type of routine at all?
Oh,
Do you have
man.
any tricks?
That's a really good question. I think I rely on internal systems, if that makes sense. The hotel rooms change, the cities change. Sometimes I mix up Pittsburgh and Philadelphia when I'm coming out on stage and saying hello. Definitely did that the other day. I was like, oops, no, wrong city. I do a lot of stuff the same. And I think the I've got the combo platter of ADHD and autism. And so I think that there's a lot of stuff that just has to stay the same. For me, it's really goofy stuff of I bring a weird amount of stuff on the road with me. Some of it's merch, some of it's that. But I also bring all of my favorite products with me because I just want to know that I have the comfort of I have my favorite moisturizer. I have the scents that I like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I also pack my suitcase in the exact same way every single time. I have also almost gotten to the point where I wear the same thing. I have an airport outfit. I have a in the hotel outfit. The clothes that I wear on stage, I sort of consider them a costume. So I have multiples of those. I bought multiples of the same things, which took me a really long time because the original sweater that I wore for the first half of the tour was a vintage sweater from the 90s. And I spent months tracking down a second identical one off of eBay. And then I finally found it and it was the best day of my entire life. So yeah, I do a lot of stuff like that. I also rely a lot on stuff like Instacart. I always get the same kind of room snacks. I have comfort foods that I make sure that I have in the hotel with me. I have a nightly routine. And so the pillows are different, the bed is different, the air conditioners make different noises. But I think having the sort of comfort of that really kind of helps me at least kind of stay mostly not overwhelmed.
That is an incredibly detailed, good answer. All of it matters. And I have to say, even though you make a lot of ADHD content and kink content, which is highly relatable, the eBay search for the specific sweater from a specific year that took you months is the most relatable thing you've ever said.
My weakness is online shopping, specifically thrifting. I love Poshmark and Depop and like Mercari's. That's what I do in the hotel is I spend a lot of time looking at secondhand clothes because I love clothes. That's like kind of one of my hobbies is online shopping, which I feel really bad about saying.
I had to turn off my online shopping thing because I had to like find new ways because the credit card bill was getting too high.
Yeah.
I'm with you. It's this pure, simple joy of you don't even have to get out of bed.
I love a bargain. It feels like winning. You know what I mean?
Wait, have you gotten any really good bargains recently?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this, but I will. So in July, I'm doing a show in New York. And then a couple of days later, I'm doing a live podcast from Understood. We're going to do like a live in-studio show. And I was like, oh my God, I have to like find an outfit. And so I've been looking and looking and looking. And I got the best. I got a suit. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to wear the suit, but I got the suit. And it was already like half off of what it had originally been. But then on Poshmark, you can do the thing where you send an offer. I just lowballed. I was like, I don't know, like here, they can say no if they want. And then they said yes. And so I got this $500 suit for like $80. And I was like, all right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I don't know why this question comes to mind, but is the suit shiny?
It is shiny. It's like a satin.
Yes.
Like I love a satin suit. It makes me feel like Deborah Vance from Hacks. Watching Hacks as like where I am in my life right now is actually crazy. Some days that show hits so hard. So I was like, I think I'm just trying to be Deborah Vance when I grow up.
I love that. Are you more Deborah Vance or, oh my gosh, her name is blanking me. The
other one. Honestly, I feel like it is the perfect sort of example of like inside me are two wolves, like the ADHD and the autism. I'm both. Like I'm both at the same time. I'm like, that's why I think I love that show so much is I am both of them consistently all the time.
I want to be either one of them, like Deborah Vance's goals, but I actually think I am, you know, the girl who left her dad's agency to go start her own agency?
Yeah.
I actually think that's more me.
I love her. What a great character arc she had too. They started her as just like this comic relief. And then by the end, they gave her such like a good arc. And I was like, hell yeah, just being yourself and staying true to your values. Like, I loved it.
I know. It's sort of like sometimes in spite of herself, like she will stay true to herself. And I'm all about that. I am realizing now that I thought you were on a book tour, right? But it is not technically a book tour. You are just on tour.
I'm on tour. Yeah. I've been kind of combining in some cities where I will do like a book signing on Friday and then a show on Saturday. But yeah, I'm on tour. And also, this is funny. I started telling people I was on a national tour, and a lot of people thought that I was just performing in the ensemble of like Hello Dolly. Do you know what I mean? No, the tour it's my show. It is a 45-minute to an hour, depending on how the day goes, comedy show thing. And then we do a live 45-minute Q&A with the audience afterwards. And yeah, I wrote it, I developed it. It has started changing every night, which is a really interesting thing that I did not expect. I went in with a fully planned, written show, and it has evolved into I'm doing something very different in every city, which has been really, really exciting. So
okay, you are Deborah Vance. Never mind. Scratch the earlier commentary. You are just her. That's amazing. So you see how I got it confused, though, because you also just recently released a book, ADHD, something for adults.
The ADHD Field Guide for Adults. Yeah, it is actually the week that the book came out was also the week that my tour started. And I did not do that on purpose. It just happened scheduling wise because the book release got moved. And so the tour had already been in the works for a while when they changed the release date of the book. And so, yeah, it was one of the craziest weeks of my entire life. I don't know if I've ever been more tired than I was. I do it about like 4-6 weeks chunks at a time. Okay. So there was a 4-week chunk and then there was a break while I was at the festival. And then now I'm back on the road for another like 6 weeks. So yeah, it's been really, really cool.
Again, the insanity of the fact that your break was working a different job. I'll never get over that. I know that now.
It's very different work, though. Like being the queen at a Renaissance festival is very different than being Catieosaurus. Sometimes it was the same because a lot of people have started coming to the Renaissance festival to see me. And that was really funny. You know, I'm in my like Ren Fair costume. And they're like, yeah, so do you have any thoughts on like perimenopause and the impact that it can have on executive dysfunction? I'm like, indeed, milady. Like, because I'm like, legally we're supposed to stay in character. And so I was just like, sometimes there was just like a point where I was like, just step over here and we're going to have a little chat by this tree or whatever. But
yeah, because you don't want to leave someone hanging, right?
Exactly. It's like they're coming all this way. Like I had people come from like states over and they're like, we heard that you're the queen. We just wanted to come see you. And I was like, that's so nice. But I do have to do it in this stupid voice. So yeah. I'm so sorry.
Contractually obligated. All right, Kinksters, I want you and your partner to join me and my dom in Jamaica for Swingcation October 10th through 17th. We'll be there teaching the art of erotic spanking, fantasy mapping, and helping couples deepen their kinky connection. All relationship types and orientations are welcome, so head to swingcation.com and use code TKC50 for up to $400 off. We can't wait to see you there. No, that is so nice, though. I think, like, for me, the way you just described, that's like the kink equivalent is being a top at one party and going to another party and being a bottom and being asked to like, and being like, I can't figure this out right now.
It really is. It really, really is. But yeah, it's been really, really fun. And I think as funny as it is that I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to do a different type of show. I'm going to take a break from my show to go do a show that lasts for 8 hours every single day. That'll be fun and easy.
That's a break. That's the break I need is to go work for 8 hours a day.
I mean, that was honestly being at the Ren Fair. Like that was kind of the catalyst for changing the show. That was kind of the catalyst that I had of coming back on the road after doing Fair. I really realized that I had written and I had created a show that I loved. I was really proud of it, but it wasn't at all what I wanted to be doing. I sort of like put myself in this box of like, well, I have to do this thing. I have to do this in this like way. And I just kind of was like, well, what if I didn't? What if I just tried something different? What if I just did something different? And it's been working and it's been really, really cool getting to kind of experience that. I tell the story in my show, but it was literally because I met this kid. There was this little girl at the Renaissance Festival. Her name was Willow. And she was like 7 years old and she was obsessed with Tudor history. And I had this 20-minute interaction where I talked with this kid about Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. And I just remember looking at this kid and going like, I was this kid. Like this kid is me and I am this kid. And I just had this moment where I was like, this is who I've been doing this for. This is why I do this job. This is why I care about this work, because there are people like this kid in the world and I want them to feel seen and valued and appreciated. And so I really came back to the show with that. I really came back to the show just thinking about that kid over and over and over. And yeah, I think the show is not that it sucked before, but I do think it's a little bit more me now. It's a little bit more honest, I think, than it was before.
I was going to ask, is the original version like a different version of you who wrote it than who you are now?
Yeah, the original show was a 60-minute history lecture on why magicians pull rabbits out of top hats.
No, I see the appeal of that completely, right? Because like, to be honest, I didn't ever think or care about that until you just said this. And I was like, well, can you just do the show now?
Fascinating.
Okay.
It's
By the
fascinating.
Way, I voted for the show to come to Kansas City, just so you know. I like put in like, please come to Kansas City because I'm missing you in New York. You're there just 2 weeks before I'm there.
Kansas City is on the list. So we're working on getting shows. So if anybody is listening, is a booking person and wants to help me get some more shows on the roster, hit me up. But yeah, the thing is because before I was a content creator, 2019, the year before the pandemic, I had been into magic for a while, but like my weird trivia fact was that I was just about to start touring a magic show. And then the pandemic hit. And so I wasn't able to do that. But I am like a magician. I've loved magic my whole life. And it was like a weird like side hobby that I did. And so when I came to this show, the whole idea was that we are an amalgamation of so many different things. We are an amalgamation of everything that we have ever been. And there were so many people who had no idea that I was into magic. And so I thought, wouldn't it be interesting? But because my background is also in academia, I had all this like weird context around magic. And like the history of magic is like wildly misogynistic and wildly like racist. And there is a lot of like really problematic stuff that is just embedded into the history of magic. And I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about that as a woman in magic, as a scholar, as a, like the autism wolf is always like screaming for more context. And so I wanted to share that. So that was what the show originally was. And then I would get about like 35 minutes into the show and I would just watch people's eyes glaze over. And I was like, and then in 1726, you know, honestly, like not to sort of shoehorn in the theme theme here, but I think a lot of the experience that I had as somebody in the kink community and like all of these different communities, the Ren Fair community, all of these different things, I realized that there was just too much of one. And the whole idea of the show is that we are many things. And so I've kind of shifted and changed the show into being a lot more about a lot more stuff. And so that's been really fun. It's been really challenging. It's been really scary. It's been really vulnerable, but I'm having a really good time with it. So
I have a couple of questions. First of all, how meta is it that, of course, that's what happened with the show because that is who you are. And like, as you said, I'm like, oh, yeah, all of that makes sense.
exactly.
But the business side of me is thinking, are you allowed to do that? Like, you sell one show, are you allowed to make it something else?
You know, I've never sat down to consider that. Honestly, I think it's fine because I never said it was a magic show. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And also the whole joke of the magic show is that I never did magic in the magic show. There was no magic in my magic show. And so I think one of the real privileges, one of the real gifts that I have being specifically in my shoes is that I have cultivated a community of people who get it and who understand. And like, I was so scared. I was so scared. My first show back on the road was Pittsburgh. And I was like, they're going to fucking throw tomatoes and run and they're going to boo me off this stage. I was honest. I literally came out. I was like, I don't want to do the show. I don't want to do the show. I've had all of these different experiences and I've become a different person. Like we all know the 8-week hyper focus and how it shapes you and changes you and whatever. And everybody was like, yeah, hell yeah, like whatever. And so it was like, it was this really beautiful moment of like, I was scared that I was going to get in trouble. Like that changing the show was somehow going to be doing people a disservice. But I think what it kind of wound up being was a way of really illustrating that when we are honest with ourselves and we are authentic about like our wants and our needs and our desires, we actually are able to connect better with people. And the show was so much better than it ever had been. And so that was a really cool, really interesting learning moment for me.
The authenticity is everything in that. Like you had to be yourself. Otherwise, I'm sure it would have come off. Like I'm sure you sold it the first 6 weeks.
It was great. I loved doing that show and I will probably do that show again. Like people have already asked me like, when are you going to bring that show back? And I realized like, it's so funny. The entire show is about choice. The entire show is about choosing and how we're like, we have to pick one thing. And like, we're told over and over that you can't be more than one thing. And then I was like, oh, well, the show can just be more than one thing. Like that's kind of counterintuitive to the whole message that I'm trying to convey here if I just force the show to be one thing. And so it's been really, really cool.
So I'm assuming the 45-minute questions at the end where you always had that, the old version of the show and the new version. How did that change, if at all, the questions you got in that question and answer portion?
Oh my gosh. I'm not going to lie. They kind of haven't. And that was also a learning experience for me because I was sure when I was doing the first version of the show, I was certain that I was going to get a lot of questions about top hats. I was going to get a lot of questions about the history of magic because I just was like, oh, like after a lecture, there's time for questions. Like this is what I thought. And then the first person, first night on the road, stands up and reads me a prepared statement like they had written down about like how much my work has meant to them and how they got diagnosed because of me. And they had like a question about executive dysfunction. And then the next person had a question about like relationships and nobody asked any questions about magic. And I was like, I see. And so it was one of those things where in the moment I was realizing like, this is the need. This is the thing. And so the questions haven't really changed. I've changed up the way that I've done the questions. Like there was a time where I was just having people writing them down and then there was just having them do them live. And then there were some people who really liked being able to talk in front of the audience and there were some people who really struggled with it. So I kind of adapted and developed the question asking system to be more accessible and inclusive of people who might not want to speak in front of the crowd for whatever reason. So there's been a lot of like change in like how I did it just to make it more comfortable for the audience. But the questions largely remain about ADHD and relationships and sex and kink and intimacy, not so much about the topic of the show, which is fine. That's fine.
It is totally fine. The thing that comes to mind, you are not a victim at all, but like a victim of your own success because you rose and you mean so much to so many people. They are going to come out and continue.
That's nice. I don't know. That's too
No,
nice
that's
for me to
factual.
accept.
No, that's factual. Do you think what you've learned on the road is going to change how you maybe write future books, approach your content, and what you put out in the world?
Oh, forever. Forever. I mean, the most valuable thing is that I'm getting live feedback. I'm getting live feedback from people. And over and over and over again, the thing that I'm hearing the most is like the way that the field guide was laid out. the way that we fought for accessibility and just like the methodology of the field guide it's working. Like literally the other day I was in Philadelphia and I had somebody say that they write technical manuals for a living. That is their job. And that they thought that the ADHD Field Guide was the best laid out book that they have ever seen. It was the most accessible book that they've ever read, and that the content obviously helped them, but just the way that we broke down the book and set up the book was a game changer. And so I keep saying it's a secret. It's not. I've been so honest about this, but like book 2 is already in the works. All about sex and intimacy and relationships, menopause, perimenopause, hormones, all of that kind of stuff that just largely gets ignored when we talk about ADHD in women. And a lot of that, like the field guide and like what we've heard, the feedback around the field guide, the book 2, the whole goal is to kind of do that again, like make it accessible, lay it out really well. I'm also fighting for color. We lost color. Originally, the field guide was supposed to be published in color, and then the circumstances changed. I do really feel like the field guide would have been such a better book if it was in color. And so I'm going to fight to the death for color in this book.
May the odds be ever in your favor for that.
I won't. I would rather not publish the book than have it not be in color. I'm not mad, but the field guide, when it was in color, it was a marvel. And it's great. I'm really proud of it still, but I think it was better when it was in color. But then that's all I'm going to say about that.
No, that's totally fair. I'm like, no, don't not publish it. Make it a coloring book. Just make outlines so I can color it myself.
Like design it yourself. I kind of like that. I kind of like that, honestly.
I like to color. So a lot of Kinksters who hear I like to color think I'm a little, and I'm like, no, I just grew up with a younger sister and I find it so relaxing. Like last night before bed, I colored to calm down from work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would color the book and think about everything that was on the page at the same time.
I like that, little activities.
Yeah, little activities. I saw a clip on Instagram recently. One of your reels recently was about ADHD and sex and how our minds can change immediately. And I know it's not just women. I think it's men with ADHD as well.
Oh,
and
yeah, absolutely.
I think for the first time in a really long time, I saw ADHD content with this video that made me think, wait, what? That's my ADHD? Because it's really easy to think, well, isn't that everyone? Because I'm attracted to a lot of people who have ADHD or living with it. And we're just like, yeah, it happened again. And we live our lives and we understand this about each other. And it didn't really occur to me that this could be related to ADHD. So I found that fascinating. And now I'm like, yes, this book is important in color or not. But I respect your choice to fight for color.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it.
Like that leads me into a question that I've had recently, especially with I've started dating someone in the last few months. Like I was dating them on the last time we talked. Do you have any tips or advice in general for people who are kinky, like doms and subs, not just subs, but like my heart goes out to the doms with ADHD who are struggling to keep their life afloat. And then they are asked to also help with a submissive. I'm like, I want to help doms here. So if you have any like dom specific advice, but advice in general, I would love to tap into like your wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. Oh man, I have 10,000 things that I immediately think of. The biggest thing is oftentimes, especially when we talk about like neurodivergent DOMs, one of the things that is the most useful, like one of the most powerful tools for the neurodivergent DOM is just simply structure. Because ADHD brains, as much as like it seems so antithetical to the way that our brains work, but we really do thrive in structure. And one of the cool things about being the Dom is that you can often create that structure and you can often enforce that structure in a way that you might not otherwise be able to. And that kind of allows you to build systems and structures that work for you. That's kind of the first thing is that's oftentimes, a lot of times people will ask me, like when I'm teaching classes and stuff like, oh, I have ADHD. Am I allowed to be a Dom? And I'm like, first off, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But we often see a lot of people with ADHD thriving in the dominant position because they are able to sort of create those systems and structures, but then also kind of, I don't want to say outsource their executive dysfunction. But like when you have a submissive person who is consented to supporting you in certain ways, like sometimes that can be a really valuable type of support that you can receive in your life. And the other thing that I get asked about a lot is rejection sensitivity in being a dominant, because so often I don't think dominants get the same type of feedback and the same type of encouragement that submissive folks do. And so the thing that I always say is, yes, you are a Dom, but you're also a whole person and you are allowed and able, and I think even encouraged to talk about your need for validation, talk about your need for positive reinforcement, for, building in opportunities to have conversations about what you're doing well, what your partner is liking, disliking, that kind of thing. But for, I don't know, I guess like all of the submissives who might be listening out there, remember that, a little kindness, a little acknowledgement, validation, appreciation, all of those things, that can go a really long way to also combating that idea of rejection sensitivity and like, am I doing a good job? Are they liking this? Are they having a good time? And I think the other thing is just really maintaining a healthy awareness around burnout, because one of the, I don't want to say it's a symptom of ADHD. Legally, I can't say that, but a common phenomenon in the ADHD population is that we tend to overcommit and underdeliver because we get so excited, right? It comes from a place of impulsivity of like, oh, that sounds awesome. Like, I'm going to say yes immediately. I'm going to say yes to that thing. But that can be really harmful when it comes to like power dynamic relationships, particularly because what can wind up happening is you as the Dom say like, oh, we're going to have this 24/7 lifestyle and we're going to have all these rules and we're going to have all these check-ins and we're going to do these things every single day. And it's going to be like this high protocol, crazy thing. And then like 2 weeks into it, you have overcommitted and now you're burned out. And the thought of having to like do the high protocol or whatever is like stressful. And so then you start to get avoidant. But what can happen is then your submissive feels like, well, what am I doing wrong? Like, why don't they want to do this? Am I doing a bad job or whatever? And so I think one of the most important things for a dominant to have is a real sense of personal accountability, obviously, but also just knowing yourself, knowing what your own limits are. How much stuff can you juggle mentally and physically? What is a reasonable and practical amount that you can commit to in terms of shaping this dynamic and shaping this relationship? Frankly, if I was going to drop a hot take, maybe commit to like 15% less, because then you have room. You have room for the low energy days. You have room for the days where maybe, things are a little bit harder, a little bit more difficult, something goes wrong, and you don't have to like meet this like very high bar that you have raised. That I think is one of like the big pitfalls, is just that overcommitting, under-delivering, and like fizzling out of a dynamic because the energy and the interest wanes over time. That can be devastating if you're on the other end of it.
Oh, I think it's devastating, definitely for both sides, because also you end up feeling so guilty for
Yeah.
not reaching your commitment level, and
Mhm.
that sucks. I was like digging my finger into my like palm as you said that, because I also relate really hard. Like when you said it, my first thought was, but no, all of my success comes from my impulsivity, because if I wasn't impulsive, nothing good would come either. That was just my own fearful thing. I'm like, I can't commit to less because that's where the success is. But then I equally know that guilt and burnout is just around the corner.
It's really tricky to navigate. Like the joke that I always say is like, I know how I'm going to die because I will impulsively say yes to anything if I have the slightest inkling that it will be a funny story that I can tell at a cocktail party later. That's how I die. I'm going to die doing something completely stupid. And you're right. I have the same experience of like, most of the real wins that I have had, I think you could look and you could say, oh, well, it was because I did something impulsively. I did this crazy impulsive thing, and that's how I wound up getting the success. But what I have learned in therapy is that oftentimes that's because we don't want to give ourselves actual credit. Like, yeah, maybe, you impulsively talk to somebody at a party or whatever, and like those weird, strange human connections, those things happen. But a lot of times, why were you in the room in the first place? Was it because you've been consistently working and delving and building a reputation and becoming somebody who people trust and whatever and all of the stuff? Speaking of magic, I'll tell you a story. This is a true story. So I have this friend, a really close friend of mine. His name is Eric. He's a really successful magician, so super talented. And one of the first podcasts that I was ever on was the Penguin Magic podcast, because Eric is the host of the Penguin Magic podcast. And how it came to be that I was on the Penguin Magic podcast was that I got tequila drunk at a magic convention, and I wandered up to Eric's table and I said, magic is the same thing as Greek tragedy, and you should have me on your podcast and I'll talk about it. And he went, okay. And that is how I got on the Penguin Magic podcast for the first time. And I think if you looked at that, you might go, well, that was a very impulsive thing that led to this sort of like achievement in my career. But the real truth was that I had to work on magic. I had to learn magic. I had to develop enough magic skills to find myself at the convention. And even past that, Eric and I had found ourselves in rooms over and over and over again. And so if it was not that time, it might have been another time, or maybe at some point, he would have emailed me, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if we put all of our stock in only good things happen when we are impulsive, I think we lose sight of how much work and effort that we are putting in just in existing and just being our authentic selves. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, listen, go on a tangent with me. I have dreams where I'm naked and I'm not embarrassed or ashamed, so that naked dream does nothing to me. I felt more naked right now in you saying all of that right now because I was like, oh my God.
Sorry.
It's like, there are no words. I'm dying of I feel called out in all of that story. Thank you to you and your therapist who helped you discover this about yourself. And I never even thought of that. Oh my gosh. One other thing is you invested to go to the Magic Convention. Unless you were invited and given a free ticket and free flight and told come be at the Magic Convention.
Yeah.
It probably happened in LA while you were there or something. But regardless, I think when people block time out, that does a lot. And we just forget that what you were doing was investing in yourself too. So of course that matters. I think about that a lot with kink conventions because they're expensive. It's like a hurdle, but when you go, you realize there's a oneness about it and it's worth investing in yourself just to even normalize who you are.
Yeah. I had that at DomCon this year.
Was it the LA DomCon?
Yeah, it was LA DomCon. I won a number of awards.
So, Educator of the Year. You won that, and I was like, oh, I need Catieosaurus back on my podcast. You are an amazing educator, and your first episode did so well. I'm going to link it in the show notes so people can actually go listen to it.
I had so much fun recording that. Yeah, dear listener, please go listen. It's such a great show.
But yeah, Educator of the Year, among others. Was there anything you were surprised at winning?
So I won Educator of the Year and Online Educator of the Year. And I kind of had an inkling. I kind of was like, okay, that feels like a good fit for me. But I also won Person of the Year. And that was weird. I still haven't sort of wrapped my head around that one. And I think it's because I am still fairly new to the Los Angeles community. I've been splitting my time between Atlanta and Los Angeles. And so not that DomCon is only for people in Los Angeles. This happens at every kink convention where it's if the kink convention is happening in Atlanta, Frolicon, it is mostly Atlanta people who are coming to Frolicon. There are people who come from all over, but it's it is the core of the facilitators and the attendees are that local kink community. And so I really kind of felt like I was intruding. And I know that that's just the rejection sensitivity and the trauma and the me not being able to have nice things. But I felt weird about it. And I had to sit with that. I think I had to sit with it and kind of go okay. But I think that I don't even know where I'm going with that. I just wanted to say that out loud.
Oh, you were surprised. I asked what you were surprised at. You weren't expecting Person of the Year.
Yeah, because I was there's so many incredible, one of the weirdest parts about my job. I don't have any friends. I do. That's not true. I have so many friends, but my friends live all over because I tour all over. And so it's I got friends in every port. And so I know on the local level, in every community, in every city, in every town where there's an active kink scene, there's so many extraordinary people doing really, really cool work. There are couple people where I was oh, I hope they win. I literally was rooting against myself. I was there are a couple people where I was oh my God, I hope she wins. I hope she wins. And then they called me up and I was fuck.
Aww.
And it's just that kind of thing where I have the privilege and the luxury of being pretty well known on I guess it's not pretentious to say a national scale at this point.
Yeah.
But I feel there's so many people doing such good work on the small scale and the local community, making real impactful difference on the local community scale. And I see the work and the difference that their work makes. And then it feels weird to be I make TikToks. That was the one that I think surprised me. It was still very nice. And I'm not going to give it back.
It made total sense to me, by the way. It made sense to me for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think that you make TikToks, you're a creator that makes people feel seen. And it's a big deal because you also talk openly about kink. And I think as someone who also talks openly about kink, the difference we just naturally make by talking about it and being open and saying this is not an embarrassing thing. It's not embarrassing to have ADHD. It's a struggle, but it's not something you need to be embarrassed about, right?
Yeah.
Through my coaching work, I realized everyone's core desire is to be seen. You are doing that at scale and putting yourself... TikToks, by the way, aren't making you money. Instagram videos, Reels are not making you money. It's a charitable act. I just want people to understand that because I think people see oh, she has 250K on Instagram. And years ago, you had over 1 million on TikTok when I first joined. So I don't even know what you're at now. But my point is, That's a labor of love that you put out there. I understand you are humble and it's beautiful, but I'm like screaming from my heart. Do you not understand what you're doing and giving to people? But it's very nice that you're that humble. I just had to explain to people that like the work you're doing, so much of it is free labor that you're doing to help people.
I would say 95% of the work that I do is uncompensated, which is why I'm
Yes.
like, please buy my book and come see my show.
Absolutely. Like 100%. And of course, the book link will be in there. I will include links to your website so that people can find where the show is happening and come see you. I think that that is a misunderstood thing when people put content on the internet, because the idea is like, I don't know, I guess it's a very 90s thing. If it's on the internet, they're getting paid for it, and it could not be farther from the truth.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, here, speaking of community, I will also say this because this is something that not a lot of people know. So if you're listening to the show and you have like a community organization or you run like a dungeon night or whatever, I will come teach a class. I'm shockingly affordable. People ask me, they'll reach out all the time and they're like, oh, I don't think like we could afford you. And I was like, I promise I will make it work because this work is really important to me. And that's like one of my favorite things to do is like, yeah, having, you know, a theater full of 1,000 people is like really cool and really exciting. But I have found genuinely my favorite types of gigs and the favorite type of work is teaching a like hands-on workshop to like 30 to 40 people. And that's feasible in every community. And I love traveling. I love touring. So it's like, if you want to bring me somewhere, I will come to you, baby.
You're busy on tour too, but like, I highly recommend everyone actually does that, because I know people listening thinking, yeah, she says that, so you need to at least email or like reach out
Right.
to like find out if it's going to work for you. That's amazing. I love that you do in-person classes. Is there a favorite in-person class you teach?
I've got so many. I've got like neurodivergent sub. I've got the neurodivergent dom. There's one that I have about like communication that I really, really like, especially like neurodivergent communication. I have a thing that's sort of like based on Betty Martin's like the wheel of consent as it applies to like neurodivergence and like sensory issues and that kind of stuff. I think I have like 40 at this point. Like I have too many at this point. I do Shakespeare stuff sometimes, like nothing to do with kink. Like I have people like bring me in, just be like, will you teach a Shakespeare workshop to my high schoolers? And I'm like, hell yeah, I will.
Oh, wow. There is a book that is famous in my spanking fetish world. It's called Sex with Shakespeare, and it's about...
Yes, I think it's up there.
It
think
is
she's up
kind of
there.
like our gospel in the Spanko world. I'm embarrassed to admit this, the way she thinks of spanking and Shakespeare, somehow I also weave in places I've shopped in real life in my life. I can't
Yeah.
explain that in real words, but it's a connection of like, oh, the feeling I have with this person is the same feeling I have when I'm shopping at Bloomingdale's. I know it's crazy, right? But she
No.
does that with books,
Yeah.
with Shakespeare, and I've never loved Shakespeare as much.
There's a show, I think it's the Los Angeles Fringe Festival. It might be Edinburgh, but I think it's Los Angeles. But it's Shakespeare and Shibari. And they're
Ooh.
doing like it's Shakespeare sonnets, but somehow they have integrated Shibari. And the way that I was about to like hop on a plane to go see this show, I'm so interested. I love the combination of Shakespeare and kink. I'm obsessed with it.
I'm into it now too. I hope you get a chance to go see that show at some point, even if it's just a last minute booking a flight and going.
Right.
Like it might be your best impulsive decision ever.
Right? Exactly.
All right. I've like gone longer than probably your Q&A. So I have one final question for you, and I'm extremely curious about the questions you're getting on tour right now. Is there anything that has stood out, or a theme that has stood out that you weren't expecting?
That's a really good question. I think it's kind of what you said earlier. It's that people just want to be seen. They just want to be seen. And I think the themes that I keep seeing over and over and over are people have spent so long feeling like they're broken, like they're fundamentally flawed, like they are a problem that needs to be solved. And I hear it in their questions, and I hear it in the ways that they talk about themselves. Like the language that they used is couched in this idea of failure and like constantly putting judgment on how things should be and how things should just be easy. And if they just tried harder and if they just applied themselves. And I don't think I hate anything more than I hate the word should and just, because it is simply just, it's such a waste of time. And I know that's maybe like a little blunt and a little direct, but like I get frustrated. I get frustrated with the number of people who are like, well, I should be able to do this. I'm like, why? Why should you be able to explain why? Because other people can? Well, you're not other people. That's silly and goofy. Like, don't stop it. And that's what I see.
That's a very loving answer. Sorry to interrupt, but that's a very loving answer, even if it sounds blunt. I think it's like some people need to be hit with that virtual slap in the face of like, wake up. Why should you?
And I think that's genuinely my answer, is there's just so much self punishment, like this just idea that we have internalized that like there's this one magic thing that is going to make everything better. And in reality, life is a constant process of growth and changing and better understanding ourselves and adapting and moving forward with like a better picture and a, I don't know, more fully realized understanding of who we are. And I don't know. I think that's kind of also accidentally what the show is about. So like it all comes back around at the end.
I love it. Oh, what a like perfect way to end. Except I have one more thing to add that I think about this a lot. This idea that we should be a specific type of way. I actually think it's gotten worse with the internet because we should. And we think that is because we're seeing online what we're sold as the ideal version of who we should be.
Yeah. The secret thing of the show is that the show has nothing to do with me. Like the show, I'm the sort of like conduit, right? I'm the like common denominator. But that's why I think I love being able to do a live show, is because I'm bringing in people from different backgrounds and different experiences, different political leanings, different identities, you know, all of these different things. And they are sharing in community. Like, and it's great. Every show this happens, every single show. There's always like one person who gets up and they ask a question and they always start with, I had no idea who you were before tonight. Like there's always one. And I love that. I'm like, welcome. Thank you so much. But there's always this like phenomenon that happens where someone will ask a question and I will wax poetic because that's like what I do. And then somebody else will get up and they go, oh, I don't have a question, but I do have an answer for that person. And it becomes like this moment of connection and sharing and this kind of thing. And I think that right now, like we are in a time where, especially with the rise of like AI and like the isolationists, algorithm, and just being in your own little bubble and your own thing, like I think we really forget. And I think that a lot of us, and me, myself included, kind of lost sight of the fact that at the end of the day, like we are not that different. And the messages of division and like us versus them that we are constantly getting all the time, those are artificially manufactured to keep you scrolling and keep you engaged in content. And one of the best gifts that I have is that at the end of the show, I get to stand up and go, look around. Look, there are people who look like you and don't look like you, who know what it's like to be you, who don't understand, but like we have all shared in this moment together. And that to me is like one of the most powerful and profound sacred things. And so I guess what I'm saying is I'm starting a cult. I don't know where I was going with this.
Sign me the fuck up. I'm like, my microphone fell over. Like, I'm in. Put me in that cult.
You know what I mean? Like, it's that the whole show, there are people who were like frustrated with me for doing a show. I got like weird hate around doing a show because like, well, I hadn't earned it. I didn't deserve it. There's so many comedians who are mad at me because you're supposed to do like, you know, a miserable slog of 5 years of open mic nights, 5 minutes at a time. And I kind of just went, well, what if instead I just booked a national headlining tour and I just did my own full length comedy special every night? And there's a lot of people who don't like that. And there are a lot of people who told me that I'm doing it wrong and I'm doing it bad and that I don't belong here and that I cheated, you know, that kind of thing. And so what I realized is that I love the show. I have fun doing the show, but the show doesn't matter. What matters is that people are showing up and they're seeing each other and they're in community with each other. And it was never, ever, ever about me. It was about them the whole time.
That's beautiful. But if you want me to put those comedians' names in the show notes and we can secretly go after them and they'll never know where it came from.
Like, why all of a sudden am I getting all this hate? I was like,
no, that was absolutely beautiful. I feel for you getting that hate. But like, once again, I just want to shout about the 95% of uncompensated work you have put in for years that is beyond the 5 minutes. And I understand I took one comedy class and I understand there's a lot of comedians putting in that work, but I also now make content and it's that 95% that got you there. You were getting constant feedback, hate, playing the algorithm to get to where you are now, for among many other things. Yeah. But like, to any of the haters who might be listening about that show,
I'm like, haters out there.
I'm jealous. You have haters who are like,
I have haters. It's weird having haters. I'm not good at having haters because I just want to be like really nice to them because I think it's funny. I'm like, I'm so sorry that my existence bothers you this much.
I have like 3 haters. I'm like, this is how you know you've made it when you've got lots and they're professionals,
right?
And
professional
in
haters.
Your space. Yeah. Like also comedians. Cate, thank you so much for coming on today, for sharing all of your experiences and stories. Again, all of the links are going to be in the show notes, including links to all your socials. Please check out her show. And then if anyone in Kansas City is listening, if you could get on and also vote for her to be in Kansas City, if we have anyone who has a venue and can make it happen to bring Cate here, please do that. Okay.
Yeah. I'll come. I'll totally come. All I need is a venue. So I'll totally come to Kansas City. I'll sit you front row, Amanda.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might find it interesting. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Email info@thekinkconsultant.com. Until next time, keep on kinking on.